What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Minecraft Weekly Stuff. So, LPEC was actually nice enough to host a server for me and him to play on, but because of the fact that I don't have access to the world anymore, and because of the fact that I don't have access to changing the scripts or changing the mods, I've decided to continue playing on my single player, and I'll play with him on the server separately. So, there's a few things that I've actually gotten ready for today's little bit. What I want to do, what I'm about to get ready for, is make some power, some decent power from thermal expansion, I'm thinking. And yeah, so I've gotten some wolves in between episodes, moved over my storage, and I made this, which will be my tree farm. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to implement the new thermal expansion method of producing energy with tree oil using the arboreal extractor and the, what is this one called? The fractionating still. So I've gotten everything together. It's taken quite a little while because I had to get the 10 gears from the smeltery and I had to get some copper and some other things. So all I need now is some buckets, and I'm trying to think of how many I'll need. I'll need 8 buckets. Okay. And I think we are good to go. Yes, that gets us 8 of these. That's enough for one. I didn't have enough, or I don't really want to expend all of my tin at once, since I've only got 41 ingots left, so I should probably hold off, and that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to wait. But we're at a point now where I can kind of sort of get started with our fractionating still setup. So in the end, it'll actually end up being 4 different fractionating stills, or rather, 4 different fractionating stills with 4 different sets of arboreal extractors. But for now, I'm just going to do 1 and 1. And the way this will be set up is pretty simple. So I'm going to run over here real quick, and I want to make some treated wood scaffolding, and some treated wood I've already got some of anyways. So let me see about the scaffold. This is all just for appearance, so you don't have to do this at all, obviously. But I think it would look cool if I did. Okay, so it's 6 of those at 1 recipe, so that's nice. So I've made some of the immersive engineering fluid pipes. I don't actually use these all that often, so it's nice to be able to. And you'll see that just by putting these next to our, this is a spruce tree, one of the giant ones, just by putting this next to spruce, which produces resin more efficiently than any other tree type anyways, we're able to actually produce resin, which isn't actually good for anything on its own, but when it's paired with the fractionating still, it can be turned into tree oil, which can be burned in a combustion dynamo and turned into fuel. Or rather, used for RF fuel. So, what I'm going to do is, just to make things look kind of nice, we'll decorate the area a little bit. So I want to have just a ring of treated wood. And then these corner blocks are going to be covered by scaffolding, because we're going to have our fluid pipes outputting here. So see how that's going to look? I think it looks pretty good that way. I forget, you have to place down the fluid pipe first and then the scaffold. There we are. And so now the fluid should be sitting in there for now, not really doing much, because we need to actually implement ourselves a fractionating still. So the fractionating still for this one, I think, actually, you know what? Let me quickly go ahead and do the treated wood for all these other spruce trees, and I'll be back. There we go. I would say that that looks better. So I think we're going to put the fractionating still here, and we may change this up later, but I think for now this will work out just fine. So we will tell it to input along the left and right, and output along the bottom. And the reason for this that I think I want to do, actually, hang on, output fluids on the bottom and output items on the top. Because this is going to output some, I think is it rosin that it outputs? Yeah, rosin. It'll output rosin, which I've already got a drawer prepared for, and we'll just toss a void upgrade on it, and we won't even have to think about that. So now all I have left that I really want to do is go ahead and get these guys hooked up with our, whoops, offhand please, there we go. Get these guys hooked up with our conduits. So we have some conduit space down here that we can make real quick. And by conduits I of course mean fluid pipes. Sorry, I forget that they're different things. And I'll go and grab this coal, because I actually could always use some coal. Been using quite a bit of it to make creosote oil, so... Ah, and some iron. And we'll just fill this back in. I never like to leave big empty gaps. There we go. So, we will have fluid pipes coming all along there, and down and along here. It's a little bit odd because these trees are even numbers around, but that's okay. And you know, I may... Why can that place there? Better yet, why can't I jump these up? Whatever. I'm wondering if I should maybe move these. Move the fractionating still back. Maybe we'll do that. So we will do fractionating still, maybe... Why don't we do it back here instead? And the machine configuration seems to have saved. Good. Kind of thought it would, but I wasn't certain. And we'll do the same thing that we did before. And the reason I wanted to input on two sides is because we'll eventually have a second set of the arboreal extractors coming from this tree. And so we'll hook up both of these to the same one fractionating still. And we should have no problem. So we'll just go ahead and route our fluid pipe over. I don't think I'm going to have enough, but that's okay. We can make some more. Whoops. Yeah, so we're 2 pieces short. Let me go get some more real quick. There we go. And we'll just go ahead and fill this back in, and this. And then lastly, we'll just pick up the scaffolding. Perfect. So now we should be inputting resin, and it looks like we are. So it's going to be dumping out of our arboreal extractors and into our fractionating still. Now, at this point, we have one last relatively small problem, and that's that we have no way of making power, and we have no way of transporting power. It's not actually a very big deal, because I truly do have a plan, and believe me when I say that I've thought about methods of working through this, as far as if I wanted to rebalance some other recipes, or how I wanted to work it out. And this is what I decided. I forgot that immersive engineering has its entire wiring system, and as it happens, that's what I want you to focus on anyways, at least early game. So for the beginning, we're going to use those. We're going to use, the combustion dynamo should not be a problem to get a hold of, but and we're going to need an aqueous accumulator as well, but the rest of the setup should be relatively straightforward with some combustion dynamos and... It's not combustion, it's, which one? Compression dynamo. So the compression dynamo is going to be, oh lovely, more tin. See, it's a good thing I didn't use it all. Well, let's see, so we're going to need 8, 16, I'm going to say 24. I'm going to go and make 3 of these. What? I didn't see that with the creeper. Oh well. At least it didn't blow up anything important, and the annoying skeleton had gotten my attention a little bit more, honestly. So I've actually semi-automated my gear production because there is a lot of gear crafting to do early game, and it can save you. I mean, you can auto-craft it all you want, and it's not very hard to craft them just with vanilla crafting recipes, but it uses a decent amount of tin, which I happen to need. So this is my automatic gear creation setup. It's not perfect, but it's automatic. So let me go get some dirt to fill in the lovely holes that our creeper friends made us here. One mod that I forgot to mention that I added, by the way, is I added a not thermal expansion, Bibliocraft, the other cool mod that everyone loves and has missed. So we have Bibliocraft. I may look into using it just for some decoration, because I do like it, even though it's, in my opinion, a little more fun to just make your decorations yourself using chisel and bits, but I think it could be cool to use those too. So let me put some of this stuff away in my inventory as well. I've got a lot of stuff here that I don't actually need, and I should probably find these things going away. I don't need those anymore, I don't think. We are still going to need the fluid pipes because we're going to need to transport water here in a minute. And the water production is going to be pretty trivial since we have thermal expansion. It's pretty much just as easy as the aqueous accumulator, because honestly, those used to be my favorite, and they still stand as my favorite, honestly. I mean, I like the reservoir. I think it's a logical mechanic, but I like it just as much as I like the aqueous accumulator, so my choice is clear. This gets us the tin gears that we want. And if we run over here, let's see, so we're going to want some steel cable coils, I think is all that's left that we don't already have. We need 3 of these, so we're going to need 12 of those. Okay, that is not bad. So we'll just go ahead and grab that and that back out of here. And just as soon as I grabbed it saying I wouldn't need it, I needed it again, so. And now we just need some sticks. Let's see. And actually, I think I taught these recipes, didn't I? And now if I do, it's actually the conductance coil, or is it transmission? Transmission is silver. I should have silver. Let's see. Ah, there we go. And just need some redstone. So our compression dynamo should be pretty much easy peasy at this point. We'll just need 3 of these. And there we go. 3 compression dynamos. Alright, so the last thing we need for these compression dynamos is an aqueous accumulator. And that is going to be more tin, of course. Do I have enough? I do have enough. Barely. I need to go mining after this for sure. And we're going to need water and another bucket. Yes, I'm well aware that I should probably just use the buckets that I have, but I don't care. We'll grab 2 pieces of glass, and let's come over here and make up some tin. I should probably go ahead and just get the aluminum brass out of here. The sooner I do that, the sooner this will be actually easy to use. I'm probably going to bring the aluminum brass back with me. There we go. So with the aluminum brass out of there, I can just put a metal in and it'll output as a gear. I don't have to worry about switching the order of the fluids or anything. So one thing with this pack is it's important, just like with my old pack, to keep up at least a minor amount of steel production. You don't have to do a lot of it. I'm basically just stockpiling a crap ton of it now because I've got a little bit of extra iron And I don't want to have to worry about it later. It's not something that you're going to use a lot of. I've used less than half a stack so far to get started with a lot of these recipes that once you get them done, it'll be much easier. So I'm just kind of thinking that if that's the point that we're at, then we should be good soon enough. So that gets us one aqueous accumulator, and we should have enough fluid pipes. The last thing is I forgot to get water. And while we're down here, I'll go and grab the sugarcane as well. Might want to look into getting a magnet at some point from Britannia. We'll see. I might go with an electromagnet from Ender.io if we get there soon enough. It just depends. I'm turning the timer off too to prevent additional redstone ticks that aren't necessary. Okay, so we have our aqueous accumulator, some fluid pipes, some sugarcane that I'm going to put away. Let me put away that, and was that in the right place? No, that was not in the right place. That's where my buckets go. Let's go there. And that goes there. Beautiful. Ah, you know what? I am forgetting something pretty important, aren't I? Wire coils and wire stuff. So if we look at the LV wire connectors and coils, they're pretty straightforward recipes, and I think I actually have everything smelted already, so that's pretty convenient. But everything at the LV level is just copper, which I happen to have just an insane amount of. And once again, I've put away my stinking hammer and shears when I actually needed them. So let's go ahead and grab, I don't know, 16? Why not? Grab plenty of copper wire coil, and we'll just make some more sticks. LV wire coil. And then we're going to need, we're probably going to need more than that, so we'll go and just make a few of these. And a few of these. Cool. Now we should be good to go. I, off camera, made some coal generators earlier. I was actually going to use these as my main source of fuel for the beginning, but obviously decided that that was not necessarily a great idea. We're going to bring these with us because if we do, then we'll have a way of starting off our fuel just to begin with. Oh, and that's something else that I forgot about is actually Additions has, let's see, lasers, which I don't think we're actually locked out of at this point. I think everything about this is craftable. Yeah, you can totally do the lasers if you don't want to do the wire relays, but I personally just absolutely love how they look. Our fractionating still has backed up a little bit, but that's okay. We're just going to go ahead and toss down the 2 coal generators on either side and just toss in some coal coke to give it some power. It doesn't really use a whole lot of power. The max it'll use is 20, and this will produce, shoot, I don't know. I think the manual actually says, but I don't care because we're not using these for very long. These are just Kickstarters. And once we get full up, then we're going to actually start storing RF, so that's great. And we'll hook those up to energy soon enough. But what we want to do is we'll end up outputting our fluids. Ah, yes, I should actually get more fluid pipes. So I don't really know where would be best to hook this up, so maybe we should just go ahead and put it along the back wall here, and then we'll just wire everything up and over later. So we'll start off with 3 compression dynamos, and I do have a crescent hammer still, right? Yes, good. And with that, they'll each have their own LV wire connector. Underneath here, we're gonna go ahead and hook up our water and our, actually the water will probably end up going from behind. What we can do though is we can do fractionating still from underneath. Assuming I can keep these from connecting, I don't actually know if that's possible. Excellent. It's kind of what I thought, but I wasn't sure. So, there we go with that. And if I fill that in, these guys are going to start filling up with tree oil. Now, the only other thing that they need at this point in order to be fully functional is some water. So the water is going to come from back here. And we'll just set up a little bit of a spring with our aqueous accumulator. And put that down there. We should be producing water at a reasonable rate. And it should be... Yep, it's barely trickling in. It's not particularly fast. I don't really know what I can do to make it faster, but I think it'll be okay. It might have something to do with the fact that it's having to distribute across multiple, or it might just be that these... No, it's the bottleneck is definitely the fluid pipes. So I don't know. I don't know what's taking these so long. But don't worry, whenever we get some of the better fluids transport, we'll definitely be using that instead. So last but not least, we can break down this stuff. And we can hook up our LV wire connector there. And we're going to need... We'll put along one of those there. And so the coil will go up to these guys. And then down, back into the fractionating still. And this should start receiving power. Yep, so we're good there. And I think the last piece of the puzzle is just a way to get this back upstairs so that we can eventually have some machines. Because that's what's next. So I'm going to have to do some mining before we can do that. So I'll be back in probably a good little bit. And we'll finish up some more stuff here. Hopefully this will work out pretty nicely though. Alright, so I've managed to get a hold of all the resources that I need. And so now, why don't we go ahead and craft up that pulverizer that we pretty badly need. So we're pretty close to the point of getting our ore doubling mechanic. And pardon my sword talking to me. But there's our tin gear. So the pulverizer is going to require the machine frame, some of the insulating glass, and a few other things. So let's just, I've got a few of these green petals out here, and I'm far too lazy to start smelting cactus, even though I do have a cactus farm. Notice, I do have a cactus farm. But, you know, it's a lot quicker and easier to just make some green dye using this. But soon it'll be easier to just smelt it using a powered furnace. So we'll go ahead and prepare for that. And I'll make just a little bit of it. We can make 2 machines in the future, maybe. Just because this is one of those things that I kind of find that is going to be a recurring item in the recipes anyways. Now, for the machine frame itself, we're just going to need some steel. And there we go. And then the tin. And there's our machine frame. Very cool. We'll go ahead and drop off the green dye in our random junk chest. Pick up the gears from over here. So, let's see, that would leave us with needing a piston and 2 flint, and we should have a piston. I've been picking them up. And then 2 flint. And now we should be good to go. So it was 2 flint and a machine frame, redstone reception coil, piston, pulverizer, basic. Very cool. So at this point, I'm going to have to do a little bit of a temporary setup because a lot of the other machines that I want to craft are going to depend on conduits at this point, basically. But I did do some basic wiring stuff up here. And if we just check it out real quick, we can actually... Why don't we do this? Why don't we put you here? We'll reset your input and output. And go ahead and hook you up to power. So I went ahead and decorated the area a little bit nicer. I moved the pups down here as well, but we've got the same setup, nothing's really changed. I've just added the lamps to the walls using the wall mounts from Immersive Engineering. And then I have also added the wall mounts for these LV wire connectors, and relays rather. So I think it looks a little better this way, and if you want to nitpick, then the wire is actually not hitting the lamppost, or the lantern rather. So that makes me very happy. So why don't we grab a chest for input and output of dusts, and I'm going to probably just sit around and wait for some of these dusts to process at this point. I'll just go ahead and put one of these in the front, and then we will put these two on the sides. Put all of these items in here and tell it to auto input from left and output to the right. And we should start processing our ores now automatically. So this is going to be a little bit slow, which is okay, because there's new upgrades or augments to the thermal expansion machine line. So the next upgrade kit is bronze and invar. That's actually very doable. And the upgrade kits by themselves add a speed upgrade, because they also add a energy storage upgrade. And the more energy that can be used at once, the more speed is implemented at the same time. So while those things are processing, because we have no reason to try to rush that too much, we can look into crafting some invar and bronze. So the bronze gear is going to be 3 copper and a piece of tin. Thought I had tin. Yeah, there we go. I still have a piece of tin. The rest of it is currently being pulverized. It's important at this point that I am being efficient with my usage. And actually, taking a look at the next set of recipes, we can craft these too. It was, let's see. Look at just upgrade kit. So that should get us the pulverized metal that we're looking for. You can see this is, like I said, not terribly slow, but definitely not fast. And this guy has drained. Good. Like I said, these just have a smidgen of excess energy in them, but if we put these down, then they'll output that energy at least a little bit. And unfortunately, we can't save ourselves any efforts here for our crafting of the gear. Sorry, for the invar. It actually, wait, the invar is just ingots anyways, wasn't it? Yeah, so we're fine. And then we can actually go ahead and toss these 3 in here and get ourselves that as well. So we should end up with, let's see, we have molten silver, which we will go ahead and cast into a gear. Right? Yeah, silver gear. Oh, and this is hardened glass. Uh-oh. We might not be able to make that one yet then. Oh well, we'll have everything else for it. And then the molten bronze also needed to be turned into a gear. Our invar is done. And then we just needed the electrum to be crafted into ingots. Right? Did I do that right? Bronze and silver? Yep. Good. So it's really nice being able to use the smeltery here to make our different alloys, because that's one of the things that once we get into the thermal expansion alloys are pretty easy to make once you get an induction furnace, but the induction furnace is sort of the tricky part sometimes. So we needed 2 pieces of redstone for the tier 1 augment. And hopefully by the end of this episode we'll have everything we need for the tier 2 augment, which is the, we'll need an induction furnace at that point. Or induction smelter. It's induction smelter, isn't it? Yep. So if we apply the upgrade, you'll see that it took a little more RF to run now, but the upside is that now, both the coal generators are drained, now it's running a little bit faster. This is about the same speed that it was running in thermal expansion versions before this one. I don't care. I don't care about speed too much. I mostly just wanted to have the nice upgrades, upgradability rather, with the augments, and just, you know, speed is nice, so never hurts. So we're going to let this process, and then we'll see where we stand as far as materials go, because this is our first bit of ore duplication and processing. So I'm pretty happy that we finally got at least this far. Alright guys, so why don't we do something that I have not made in a long time, and when I made it, I actually didn't even really use it. Why don't we get into immersive engineering a little bit and make ourselves a metal press? So to get started, we're going to need the immersive engineering manual, because I don't remember these recipes, or rather these multi-block structures for crap. So we'll go and grab ourselves a lever and a book, and that should get us our engineer's manual. So inside of this, we're going to see plenty of stuff, of course. And it looks like our metal press here is actually not going to be too terribly difficult. So if we take a look at... Here we go. So it's a piston and, well, we have a few things here. So why don't we get started crafting some of this stuff? Why don't we set it up like maybe right here-ish? That way it's centered still. So let's check out the way it was shaped. Okay, so it was you here and you here, this guy there, those two there, those there, and I think that's it, aside from the piston being rotated the wrong way. There we go. Cool. So now we'll have our items which will input from the left and output to the right. That's kind of why I set it up exactly the shape that I did. And if we hook this guy up to power, not sure why I'm just now getting that achievement, but whatever. Congratulations, me. So now we have our metal press up and running. The only thing left is that I'm going to want to have a method of getting these loaded and unloaded, and I wish there was a better way of extracting items into these, or rather pushing items to these, but I think I might be able to come up with something. So we can go ahead and make our gear mold, if I can craft. Metal gear press mold, put that down there, and now if I, whoops, double whoops, I wanted that there. If I have... I don't suppose there'll be an easy way of doing this. A wooden storage crate, and if we put the transfer node down there, that should work from what we tested. Ah, no. I wanted to fill this in with stone. Thank you. So now we should have no problem. Actually, you know, on second thought, why don't I just put it here? It's all the same, isn't it? So if I put something in here, then it's going to get plopped out, and then of course by the time it gets up here, it's going to be like, no, this isn't a recipe, which is fine. The conveyor belt's already insert anyway, so we can just do this, and this will work. That's a given. I just wanted to come up with something kind of crafty, you know? I like doing crafty stuff, so now if something drops on that end, then it'll just get inserted. No problem. So this should give us our automatic gear crafting, well, pseudo-automatic. Of course, we have to put stuff in there. But that was all done for the sake of making us the induction furnace a little bit easier, because the induction furnace can be made, or smelter, I'm sorry, I'm going to say furnace because I'm going to think industrial craft, but the smelter is what I'm talking about. But the induction smelter is going to use a few different kinds of gears, so I figured it'd be worth time just to kind of make them the easier way. So for the invar, we're going to need some iron, and was it 2 to 1? It was 2 to 1, so we'll go ahead and just grab that. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's an alloy for it yet, so we'll just have to kind of live with it for now. I don't know if Tinkers is going to add an alloy, or if that's going to be on thermal expansion to do. Not really sure. Or I guess foundation, thermal foundation. But yeah, so like I said, you can take these metal pressed, or the metal press and plate or gear these, which is really cool. And the nice thing about having this is the only other recipe would have been if we had done this one, and I'm low on tin, so this was honestly more preferable. So now, once we get all this cooked up, we should be good. So let me go ahead and get this. You guys know what I'm going to end up doing. I'm just going to craft Invar Dust, or Invar Blend, and then run over to the giant furnace. So there we go. Let's run over here again, and run to the metal press. I have no idea why I'm not taking fall damage from that, by the way. I feel like I should be. And so now, if we drop in... How many do we need? Just 2, right? So if we drop in 8 ingots, it's going to sit here and throw these out, and I think once there's 4, they'll fall onto there. Yep. See? So it takes a little time. I think I picked up 2 of them. But then it's going to run down here, smush them, and boom, there is our conveyor belt working its way down and over to the crate. So with that out of the way, we're going to need another tin gear, which is not a problem at all. Do we need any other gears? No gears there. Getting that gear now, I think that'll be good. I think that'll be it. Instead of constantly having to craft this recipe as well, why don't we do this? We'll do those, that, and this, and now we have a wire mold as well. We have our induction smelter. I'll go ahead and keep some power moving to it as well. So we're just going to go ahead and automatically disable all the sides of input and hook that up to power. And then we'll probably end up having just normal furnace on the other side there too. But there we go. Induction smelter, get. So, we have these things all said and done. But what we don't have is any form of energy storage, which is fine. I mean, we've got a decent bit of energy, but I wouldn't mind having an auto-off system, which these guys fortunately already have a bit of an automatic system here, but I wouldn't mind having an auto-off system is the key point here. So why don't we get started with something like that real quick. What we're going to want is a capacitor bank, but of course we can't make a capacitor bank now, can we? So instead we need to look at thermal expansion, which is going to lead us to the energy cell. The energy cell has several tiers. In fact, it has a new one. The signal and energy cell is a whole new tier. And the frame itself is not going to be too bad, but you can see it's going to use fused quartz or some variety of hardened glass. So I had a purpose in doing all of this. Believe me, I do things for a reason. So the hardened glass, the recipe, I think we can use copper, right? Good, because we have a crap ton of copper. The recipe is mostly just an obsidian-based recipe that's going to use our pulverizer a lot. Let me see. There we go. Pulverized obsidian, that gets us 4. And each one of these uses 4. But it also uses 1. So yeah, I think that's actually fine because we're going to end up with perfectly 1-to-1. So we'll go ahead and let this pulverize, and I'll be back when we have all of the obsidian dust. Or pulverized obsidian, or whatever it's called. Awesome, so we have a decent supply here of our pulverized obsidian, so we can go ahead and toss this in the induction smelter and let it go cooking as well. So there's a new difference with Thermal Foundation. The new version actually implements all metal variants of the hardened glass here. So you see we have copper, but there's also tin, silver, just plain, which is if you use lead. Kind of think that's funny. I think they should add lead as a prefix, but who knows. Aluminum, which we probably actually should have used, but that's okay. We'll be using aluminum for other stuff. Nickel, platinum, iridium, mana infused, hardened steel. I mean, there's all sorts of really cool looking stuff here. But every one of the alloys added by Thermal Foundation now has its own hardened glass. So, I think that's actually all we needed. And I'm curious about this recipe. Why is this recipe Except any fused quartz, except any block glass hardened? I'm very confused. I don't know why those are specifically different. I have no clue. But we have the hardened copper glass, which is all that matters. So we're going to look at the energy cell frame now, because that's kind of what I'm looking at. And it's going to be a lead gear. Was that 4 electrum? Well, I have a silver gear and 4 electrum, but I do need lead. So we'll just grab some silver and gold and lead. I need to start mining at some lower Y levels. I've actually been doing a lot of my mining at the upper ones just because it's kind of one of the places that I've been needing to farm the most at. But so we were looking at the gears, right? Yep, so that's in good condition. We'll just go ahead and toss that there. And this should be done shortly as well. And boom, lead gear. Much more streamlined process now, isn't it? I think it is. I think it's a pretty cool process. So let's see, we should be good to go at this point. If I do this, yay, it works. Cool. So with our energy cell frame done, you used to have to fill these. I'm surprised that you don't still, but instead you just do a block of redstone with lead. And is that a conductance coil? I'm gonna bet that that's a conductance coil. Yeah, that's a conductance coil. So these will require another piece of electrum. I know I've got those 4, but I'm actually saving them. I've got a specific purpose for them. So we'll just go ahead and drag these out of here. We're gonna end up with plenty of hardened glass in the end. Because I had plenty of obsidian and I decided to use most of it on... Well, not most of it, but a decent supply of it on that. I'm actually doing decently well on obsidian considering the fact that I've got my backpack almost fully upgraded. And honestly, I don't know if I really even care about that last slot too much. So we wanted 4 steel cable coils, right? Sorry, let's see. So, it's going to be 4 of you? Yep. Okay, cool. So we'll take these downstairs. And we can just toss these on here. We're only doing 1 recipe. Am I getting 2 per recipe? Oh! Oh, nice. Didn't even know that that was a thing. Well, we're gonna have some extra steel coils. That's fine. Because we use these quite often anyways. Forgot to switch these out. So, I think we're actually getting pretty good as far as our redstone storage comes along. And you know what? I don't want to break that last redstone block because I have an even stack, so I'm just not. Yeah, you know what? We'll go ahead and make 2 of these. And it was conductance. Boom. And then that can be used for this with 2 pieces of lead. And there we go. Oops. I did not want to place that there. So I'll go ahead and place the last of that there. And actually, I think we're at a point where we can make our reinforced upgrade kit that we had designed earlier. We had almost everything we needed. We were just missing one of the bigger pieces, which we just got. So we're good. So now, the last thing that I'm kind of marginally, but not majorly concerned about is the fact that our power situation is kind of in a pickle. If we had the power transfer system from, what is it, thermodynamics, I would just use that, but we don't, and that's kind of a problem, or kind of, well, it's not really a problem. I wouldn't even go so far as to say it's a problem. It's just annoying, because without that, it means that and I'm not, I could redesign the recipe layout for all of this if I wanted to, but I'm not. It means that essentially we're kind of stuck with, or stuck out of using Ender IO conduits until basically we get into Ender IO. So if we take a look at the Ender IO stuff, really all we need is the alloy furnace. What are these? Oh, yep. So the alloy smelter is not too expensive. I'm just checking to make sure that everything here seems relatively doable. Oh, we need a magma crucible. So I guess that's the last thing that we really need before we can get this stuff working. Oh man, this is kind of annoying. I'm trying to think of ways that we can kind of work around this maybe without having multiple energy cells, because that recipe was not so cheap that I would want to keep on doing it. Let me look and see what our options are. So we have a problem, but we also have a solution. Hear me out on this. Let me go get some more of the wire that we need. But I think what I'm going to do is just change around the way some of my combustion dynamos are laid out. And I've actually got some extra stuff on me that I no longer need. But we do need those and those. Perfect. And just take a quick nap again. Honestly, this thing is super useful for YouTube videos, even though I programmed it with none of that in mind. That's just kind of how it happened. And let me think. Oh yes, fluid pipes. Do I have any left? Yes, I do. Excellent. Excellent. So, here's the plan. I normally like to keep things nice and open, but I don't think we're going to be able to this time. So what we'll do is we'll break these and go ahead and break the piping here. No big deal with the pipe though. I don't think anything is lost until everything is said and done. Like, I'm pretty sure that the fluid gets removed whenever, or rather that the fluid gets stored in a pipe block only when it's in transfer, or in transit rather. I'm not actually certain. I'm gonna pick up this iron because I'm a cheapskate and I need it. We'll fill this up. Any chance I have other materials? I do kind of want to keep some of that. So what we'll do is this. We'll have our fluid pipe for... Okay, sorry, I'm having to really think this out because I want it to look a certain way. So, we'll have the energy cell here. And, aha, I knew I should have a block for that. And we will have our combustion generators right along here. And actually, I meant to do something like this actually. So here, it'll be, no, not there. I did not click on that side. The combustion generators will be, come on. Oh. I like these fluid pipes, but they're just a little bit glitchy. Not too bad, actually. Honestly, there have been worse, but they're not perfect. I'll admit that. We'll go and put down the dynamos. I think... Did I? Oh yeah, I totally janked that up. Whoops. So we'll have 3 fluid dynamo, or combustion dynamos, and we can rotate them in a minute, but there's no point in trying right now. And we'll have something like this. This is kind of how we're just going to have to work around the fact that we have... No, we're kind of at an early cheap point in the game. And I think this is actually pretty cool that we have to kind of think things through a little bit. So we will have those and the same... Ah, no, I don't want that. I want that to that. And so we'll tell this guy we're going to input in the back and output out the front. We will have 3 fluid conduits, or fluid pipes rather, coming down here. And we'll tell them not to connect with our engineer's hammer. And now if I, oops, if I connect these, they're going to start filling up with tree oil again. And our energy cell here is going to start receiving power. And the last step is we're just going to tell it to output that power to our machinery. Beautiful. So now we actually have a storage buffer. And it's going to get filled up relatively quickly, actually. It's a 2 million RF buffer. But you have to admit that, one, it took a little bit of setup to actually get working. Weird render bugs. I don't even care. And two, it definitely took a lot of setup to just get acquired. So, I'm going to clean this up a little bit because it definitely needs some cleaning, but let me get that done real quick. And, you know, since I'm not doing the cut style anymore, I guess I'll bring you guys with. It's like I said, these are going to be few and far between, but they're going to be kind of long episodes where you guys get to see a lot of the stuff that I do. We're going to grab a few pieces of cobblestone to fix up the gaps, and then I also should have some steel scaffolding, which I think is going to look better than the treated wood scaffolding that I used to have. And we'll use the steel scaffolding back here to sort of disguise this, and then we're going to just need to, let's see, fill that in. We're going to want that there, and actually, can I get these two? See, this is why I grabbed extra cobblestone. Plus I had a few pieces that I was going to need down here. Turned into giant bricks. So we have, well, one of these is them. There we go. I use item zoom for some things now in Chisel. It's not that I have bad eyesight, it's just that in a 1080p screen at large, it's kind of hard to see certain textures in fine detail. But we'll turn that off again because it's very annoying whenever you don't want it. But there we go. So that gives us our 3 compression dynamos. And so my last concern that we may have to postpone for just a minute unless I can think of something clever is how we're going to turn these off without making them visibly terrible looking. So we can actually test something out first before we get too deep into this, because we can basically answer whether or not we can do this subtly. And if we can't do it subtly, then I honestly don't think we even need to worry about it. We're going to do pretty fine with power in the end anyways. And our fractioning still is working pretty hard, but like I said, once these guys get filled up, once all the buffers start to sustain themselves, we actually run into fewer and fewer problems with shortages as far as our fluid resources go. And those are done though, so that's great. We'll put those up in the chest while I'm working on a few other things. Let me see about getting one thing though that I want to basically use in order to confirm whether or not an idea that I have for redstone signals is even going to work. So I don't know, and that's what I'm going to have to confirm, whether or not the combustion dynamos are considered, or any dynamo is considered a solid block. Because if it is, then that's going to be really easy, because all we have to do is send a redstone signal into the outer 2 combustion generators, and that's, or combustion dynamos, or they're not combustion, compression dynamos. I'm sorry. I'm going to call them combustion and compression. With normal English, I'm not bad at mixing up names or words, but with named items that their names are only loosely related to what they do, it's kind of hard to remember what the name that some guy made up for it works for. Hope you guys understand. That's kind of where I'm at. And you know, honestly, we could simplify the setup with the transfer pipe and transfer nodes. So if this doesn't work, that's a backup plan. I really like the fluid pipes. I have to admit that they just look really nice, but honestly, we're at a point where we might want to look into that instead if this plan doesn't work. So we're going to start with just a redstone repeater for now. And as it happens, Elpec and I were talking about it the other day. I'm one of the few people, he and I are some of the few people who actually remember what the redstone repeater recipe is off the top of their head. I actually memorize a lot of recipes just fully incidentally. It has nothing to do with how much I like or dislike something or how much I use it. Just sometimes I remember them as I go through and sometimes I don't. And, you know, in the advent of, hey, let's change recipes for stuff, thanks to Craft Tweaker or Mind Tweaker before it, it's kind of become accustomed to just look every recipe up. And it's not a bad thing to do that. So, let's see. Redstone repeater in. So this will guarantee a strong signal being sent. And we'll set these guys to redstone low. Or do we want to do high? We can do high. And then they should stop running. They are no longer running, I think. I can't tell. I thought I had to upgrade these for this to work, but maybe not. No, I might be right about that. So, you guys are seeing this too, right? Like, this is definitely not working at all. So if we set this to enabled high, all of these set to enabled high should mean that this is not running. Maybe it just, we'll give it a second to see if it's just like internal buffer, like where it goes through, does one combination and then stops after that. So maybe it's just in the middle of one. We'll wait. Yeah, that's all it was. So now these are off. How do you feel about, no, come on, redstone signals? Okay, so they are only for one at a time. That's fair. And I should have known that. Or I did expect that, rather. They aren't solid blocks, so I wasn't expecting some sort of made-up mechanic for these, but a man can dream. So let's just go ahead and do the transfer pipes. As much as I really would prefer not to, I think it's just our best option. And we're also going to need a comparator, which means we're going to need more sticks and to take a nap. Ah, yes, and 3 more pieces of stone. And we'll want 1 more redstone torch. Actually, I guess I could have just used the lever, but we'll use another redstone torch so that we can do some subtraction. And the last thing is, can I get some sort of really cool looking, how about concrete tiles? We'll use concrete tiles to trace out our redstone work because I always like to keep this kind of mapped so that you can visually look at it and say, oh yeah, okay, that's for this or that's for that. So we'll see how this looks in the end. So the upside of transfer nodes is they don't actually store the item in the transfer pipe. They simply use the transfer pipe to direct themselves to a fluid inventory or an item inventory, either one. I think these are wrench universal. Yeah, these are wrench agnostic. Great. And so, in essence, what this means is that you can actually cross pipes. As long as you're okay with the intersection of pipes also meaning that anything that connects to one pipe, the other pipeline can also connect to, which is fine because we want these both to connect to the same set of inventories. So, or in this case, fluid tanks. They're not really inventories at this point, are they? So, we can actually get rid of all of this stuff that we just built thinking, oh yeah, let's get all worried about that. I actually did still need that, so I did not need to break it. Oh well. Now if we put a transfer node here, you see it's going to draw fluids, and I promise you that our other machinery is also drawing fluids. You just can't see it because I didn't open up the fluid GUI. And so now we should be filling up, actually, seems like we already filled up, with our fluids again. And if you doubt me, then I can just break one and replace it. Ah, dang it. No, don't do that. Hopefully we didn't lose any fluid. If we did, it's not a huge deal, but... So there we go. We just got some water. And this is going to be a slow process, but it's not any slower than the fluid pipes, realistically. Like you can see here, we've already gotten about 2 buckets worth of water. And I think here in a minute we should manage to get some tree oil. I would think. Certainly is taking a while. Did I hook that up right? Okay, so oddly enough, the transfer node here does not want to pull fluids out of the bottom of this. And I have absolutely no explanation why. A plain transfer node should not require fluids. Or rather, should not require grid power, is what I was thinking. Okay, well then, I guess we'll need to convert this real quick. So let me grab a quick barrel real quick. This shouldn't take long. So interestingly enough, I don't know if this will work, but I cannot figure out why the fluid transfer node was not working previously. We'll go ahead and just do the same thing that we had before, but we will have it inserting into a stone drum. Okay, good. So this is filling up with tree oil. Now will this extract tree oil? Okay, weird. I have no idea why this is working and why the other one was not. But let's just go ahead. I like to keep things from being kind of snaky. So now we should be getting tree oil eventually. This is a slow process, I have to admit. But it's still relatively efficient compared to, I don't know, having to fill it up yourself. It's pretty good. So we can go ahead and fill in our dirt back again. And I picked up more cobblestone because I think it's going to be a little bit of a different situation once we get everything traced out. But we have to get that far first. So we're going to power our, or rather send a redstone signal, is what I kind of mean, to our compression dynamos through the back. So the back here is going to be where the signal is just going to sit across on a redstone line, just like this. And so from here... Ah, crud. We're using the back of this. Boy, this just can't be made easy, can it? Now what do you suppose we do about this, then? I don't think there's anything we can do about this. I really don't. Didn't think this out at all. Unless, well, no, because if we do that, then... Okay, why don't we just try this? This is fully theoretical. I don't know if I'm going to even like how this looks. So just hold your horses. Kind of like how these are sunken back, because I like to be able to access multiple sides. Why don't we do the same thing here? We'll move this... Let's see, this is the eye level of the block, then we can move this. Why don't we move this here then? We'll just put a block down. I'm a little bit trapped. There. That is still centered though, so that's good. Sorry, this has been kind of derpy, but mostly because of the minor restrictions that I forget about in regards to the way the mod pack is laid out. Now, in all honesty, I could care less about being able to access the energy cell, because it doesn't actually benefit us at all. The energy cell itself is literally only serving a purpose right now of giving us a how full or empty are we signal. And that way we don't constantly run these guys, and we can have a relatively efficient system. Now by doing this the way that we have, we end up getting more sides that we can play with. So that's why I did this. So we'll do bottom input. instead of back, because that's going to change now. And lastly, we can finally, gosh, this has been quite the mess, hasn't it? We can finally put down a few things. First of all, we should get a torch. It's getting a little bit dark. We can get a comparator, which is going to need to be in subtract mode in a minute. But let's see. Right now we're emitting a signal of 5. And if we subtract, right now we're subtracting 5 or 0 from 5. But if we subtracted, let's say 2, rather 1. So if we have, sorry, not 2 or 1. We want to be left with 1. So this will emit a redstone signal of 15 whenever it is full. If we're subtracting 15 from 15, we'll end up with 0. But we want to subtract 14 instead of 15. So we have 14. We'll have 15 here. This will emit a redstone signal of 1, which is perfect because that's what we want. Is we want a redstone signal of 1 when this is completely full. And only when it's completely full. So now we can route our redstone down. We're going to need to... Can I separate one but not the other? I don't think I can. So what I'm going to have to do is just kind of snake it a little bit. No big deal. So we'll do there and down here. Now the last problem, of course, is the fact that now we're not actually going to be, we're going to be emitting a redstone signal of 1, but we need to go pretty far ways. So whenever we do emit a redstone signal of 1, we'll want to repeat it. That way we can be certain to have enough signal to get us there. Mind you, I could be doing other things for getting the redstone signal all this way, but sometimes vanilla redstone is fun to do in a modded world. It helps you kind of uncomplicate the complicated. So we can do the same thing, just snake it around, and that should be good. So now we should have a working setup for something. And I will just go ahead and kinda sorta cover this up. There we go. And that's good enough that I can see every piece of this that I need to see and still get around. Beautiful. So the last piece is figuring out how the heck to get out. I guess we can just do this and clean up everything. So now we will tell this guy to run redstone signal low, and so whenever the energy cell, which we can no longer access, but that's okay. We can actually solve this problem very easily by just adding another energy cell later down the road if we wanted to. I don't, but we could. We absolutely could. And later down the road we will. I just don't want to use the resources on that right now. But if we run up here, we're going to see our energy cell should be filling. It's on ignored redstone. So our energy cell is filling at a rate of 1000 RF per tick. We are producing power at a rate of 40 RF per tick. So we actually have 3 of these dynamos. We're getting a decent amount of RF for free. And we can expand this. I mean, that's the greatest part of this. That's why I went with this setup, aside from the fact that it's new and shiny, because new and shiny is always the #1 attention getter. But aside from the fact that it's new and shiny, it's free. It's renewable, and it actually honestly makes sense. Is it something that you could actually do? Maybe. But either way, it at least kind of makes sense in the context of Minecraft. So it's not perfect still. You can see through a little bit, but best I can do for that is this, and this will probably be the last bit of like cleanup work that I end up doing with this, because honestly it's not going to be perfect. It never will be, but it can at least be kind of sort of good. So we can put down a few blocks to kind of encompass this. And I can actually move this too. That way we can have more blocks. You know, I wonder, can I trick this a little bit? I wonder if I can. It'd be very nice if I could just get a somewhat magical signal coming out of nowhere. It won't be coming out of nowhere, but it'll kind of be coming out of nowhere. If I do this, is that a strong signal, or is that considered a strong signal? I don't think it is. I could always make a repeater. I guess we can just find out. So if I put a redstone signal down here, yeah, that's not going to send it through. So let me make a repeater. I'll be right back. There we go. So this system works. If I give it a signal, you see the signal passes through the blocks, quote unquote, magically. So we can finally cover this up. And I think we should be good. Just gonna, I guess, enclose this a little bit since I'm already filling it in a lot anyways. Maybe see if I can come up with something clever for the outside. And we can unchisel some of this back into cobble. And just use cobble for a lot of this. This isn't meant to be pretty. You gotta consider, we're early game. We're at a point right now where form is a little bit under function. Although, to be fair, you can tell that I'm still kind of working on form. Because, I mean, I took the time to dig out this huge room and wall it up. That was not exactly what I would say easy. So, we should be good now, I think. So if I come out here, these are on, they look relatively clean, you can't see any blocks, you can see the redstone behind there, which might be good, might be bad. We'll see if I find that crazy or not. And we should be good on power here, yes? Yes, good. So, I think that's a good place to call it an episode because we've done quite a lot and it's getting pretty long even for a week-long episode, or at least an every few day episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one and I will see you guys in the next one.